but making sure that when you go into these conversations, you're going in with the intent to make that person better. And depending on the severity of the conversation, you might have to preface by saying, I want you to know we're going to get uncomfy for a minute, but this is to make you better.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, BX3 listeners. Welcome back to the studio. Thank you so much for listening. This is our weekly Thursday episode, and we're glad you're here, excited to talk about some leadership stuff. This podcast is for us, by us, and we're just excited to talk and have some fun with it. So good morning, Hailey.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining me again. Second week in a row.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Oh, high five. Ayo.
Ayo. So I don't know if you guys remember, but a while back we used to share TikTok clips or, different clips that we found interesting that we wanted to have a conversation about. So I thought, today we could kind of bring that back a little bit. So we've got a clip from Ken Coleman, who's one of our favorites, that we'd like to share. And it's kind of about culture, which we love building culture as leaders. So let's take a listen.
How do you deal with the problem team member?
It is having a real conversation. And hopefully at that point, trust is built. They know I'm in their corner, but they know when we have this conversation, it's not I got you, but it's like, okay, we have an issue here. Our culture is moving one way. We have undercurrents taking the culture the other way. And this person might be one of those undercurrents at the time. And then being able to have a direct conversation, because we see it so often in schools and we see it in businesses where there's a lot of other people looking to see if this behavior is going to be addressed.
Don't be an undercurrent, Hailey. Like, why do you gotta be an undercurrent? We're trying to move the culture forward here, and you're going the other way.
Yeah, but I'm not having a good day.
Well, you gotta tell me when you're not having a good day.
All right.
So Ken Coleman's talking about the idea that hard conversations have to happen because if you don't address those behaviors, other people will notice. Mm-hmm. And they'll start to maybe question, hey, when is this behavior going to get addressed? I think about in the restaurant setting, call-offs, right?
Yeah.
They're as a leader, right? You have the discretion to document or not document somebody for their behavior. And I think as you see these things happening, the more you let things slide or don't document or have that conversation, the more your team's going to be like, well, what the heck? Even worse if you have other team members who then decide to call off or whatever, and then you document them. Mm-hmm. Say, oh, so-and-so can do it, but I can't. So the idea that this culture building tool of having hard conversations, I've never thought about it that way. I don't know if you have, but people deserve to know, how you feel about them in the workplace and their performance, right? If something's not going the way it should be, you owe it to them as a leader to tell them. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really think about it as a culture building tool. I think underlying that makes sense. Having hard conversations as a tool to help build your culture, I didn't realize that application. Like when you watch this, what did you pull out?
I think what stood out was that the inconsistencies aren't only within McDonald's, that it's like a worldwide thing. And it's something that it can be difficult as leaders to be consistent because we get caught up in the whirlwind of day-to-days. But like you said, if one employee calls off and they're just kind of like, okay, it's fine. The next employee calls off and then they're going to get documented because I'm not caught up in the whirlwind. Well, what is the expectation here?
Yeah.
Or if the employees are never documented for
anything,
calling off or insubordination or whatever it may be, then that's what the expectation is set up, and then your culture can be really affected in a detrimental way.
Yeah, and I like how you kind of said that there's this foundation of leadership that is inconsistent. Mm-hmm. Like in every industry, right? And I think there's a way to get better. There's a way to improve. Obviously, there's tools and so many different things out there. But I think as far as this clip goes, is take the time and have those hard conversations.
Yes.
Because as much as you might not like having that hard conversation and telling this person X, Y, Z, hopefully as a leader, you've built up that trust and you've built in and deposited into them, as a leader, so that when you do come to them with these things, it's not like, gotcha, like I caught you messing up. I caught you when you were sick and you didn't come in or you didn't tell us, like, gotcha. That's not what it is. It's a coaching tool. We've been talking about coaching a lot recently because it's so important. And as this organization continues to grow, we're focusing on procedures so much right now. The inconsistencies, like you said, go down to the procedures too. Let's make sure that we're doing these things the right way. But if you're inconsistent with who you're coaching and who you're telling this stuff to, you could be an undercurrent yourself.
One thing we've seen a lot is that when a hard conversation needs to be had, it's tough to start it because the expectations haven't been set. And when the expectations have been set and the hard conversation is coming, one, that employee or your friend or your family, whoever is the receiver,
not just business and sure.
Whoever's the receiver of this hard conversation, they know that the conversation's coming, right? When the expectations have been set. If they haven't been set, that's where it can feel blindsiding
and feel like that undercurrent.
Yeah.
So if you have those clear expectations, hey team, we're going to hold you accountable to these goals or these procedures. My expectation is if you start to slip, we're going to have a conversation about X, Y, Z, whatever. Now it's not blindsiding because you're telling them this is what's going to happen. And as a leader, again, people want to know when they're doing well and what they need to work on. Like they do. They want to be successful just as much as you and I do.
Yep.
So when we set them up for success that way, then it's a little bit easier to have those hard conversations. And don't get me wrong, those hard conversations can range from so many different things.
Yeah,
right?
5 seconds to 5 hours.
Yeah. There's a lot of different topics that could be covered. But again, if you've got this person on your team and you've poured into them and you've taken yourself on as a leader and you're doing the things that are required to build a correct culture and to push the culture forward, and you're consistent and you've set the expectations, having those hard conversations will be a whole lot easier.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about it a lot on this podcast and then just, throughout the restaurant.
Yeah.
But making sure that when you go into these conversations, you're going in with the intent to make that person better. And depending on the severity of the conversation, you might have to preface by saying, I want you to know we're going to get uncomfy for a minute, but this is to make you better. So bear with me, let's make sure we're being emotionally intelligent during the conversation. If we need to take a beat to step back so that we can come out the other side in the most effective way, that's okay too. So just, being able to gauge that, I think, is really important. If it's a quick coaching moment, I don't think you necessarily need to do that.
Correct.
But those might be hard sometimes too.
They could be. And the idea here too, as a leader, is you're identifying trends, right? And as you are having those little coaching moments, like that's where you can identify those trends. Like, oh my gosh, I've told Riley 6 times to do that procedure this way and he's not listening. So I need to have a conversation. I need to have now the hard conversation with Riley about what it is about that procedure that he's just not getting.
Yeah.
Because it'd be just as easy to be like, oh, Riley's never going to get it. So I'm just never going to put him at that station anymore.
And we do that a lot. But we talked about how to get out of the box.
We did last week.
Yep, and that's an in the box thought. So keep it there.
Keep it in the box. But yeah, now all of a sudden we can have that conversation with Riley and be like, "Hey, Riley, my intention is to help us help make you better as a part of this team, and we're going to get a little uncomfy for a second, but over the last month, we've been coaching to this procedure and." I just got to tell you, I just haven't seen the result that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Can you tell me like maybe what challenges you're facing or like work together? Now I'm kind of out of the conversation. Work together with Riley to come up with a solution. And if it is that he's just not that good at that station, cool. But now he knows that instead of you just like, oh, Riley can't do that station. Feedback is a gift. And even if it's hard feedback, like it's still try to remember that. Like,
right.
As uncomfortable as you are, as comfortable as they are, like you're going to hopefully come out the other end stronger and have a better relationship.
Yep.
But when we're talking about being consistent, I know we've talked about this in LT class a couple times, but what are the 5 steps of feedback that we can kind of share with the listeners that maybe they can,
Yeah,
listen?
I'm glad you brought that up because that was exactly what was going through my mind when you were saying, I've talked to this person 6 times. And I'm going, oh gosh, where did you leave off then? Because if you are following through, which is the last step, right, then the consistency tends to be there. So making sure that when we're coaching and giving feedback that we're first observing. And observing is anything you can hear, you can smell, you can see it,
Yeah.
maybe taste it, you know.
For sure you can taste it, right?
Yep.
Like you bite into a chicken nugget and it's a little dry or a little bit stale.
Yeah.
You know, but there's a quality issue and you could
Right.
probably do some coaching and give some feedback to the kitchen team.
Yep. So making sure that we're observing and then we're going to give and receive feedback. Don't forget to receive feedback. And that's a really important part. It helps us paint a clearer picture as to why Riley is doing this procedure that way. Next, we're going to demonstrate the right way. I want to show Riley how to do this so that there's a clear picture what it looks like moving forward. Next is we're going to agree on the change. And a lot of times we've let that one kind of fall off.
Hey, Hailey, do you understand now? I just showed you the right thing. Do you understand?
And okay,
Cool,
we
thanks,
might
bye.
take that as that. But truthfully, I might still be processing. And I'm just saying okay because it is an uncomfortable conversation, and I just want Riley or my coach to get away from me because I'm nervous from that. So just inherently, not because Riley made me nervous, but making sure that we agree on the change, and that might be asking Riley to paraphrase what we just talked about.
Or, hey, show me what I just showed you.
Yeah, right. Making sure that they really have that understanding of the process, and then following up. So let Riley do it for, a week or the next shift or whatever by himself. And I'm just kind of back observing, and then I can follow up with him. So observe, give and receive feedback, demonstrate the right way, agree on the change, and then follow up.
And I think follow up, because you're right, it's a cycle. It's not a 5 steps and you're done.
Yeah.
It's you go back to observe. So
Yep.
the next time you do observe Riley, if he's doing it the right way, shout Riley out. You know how much you're going to deposit into Riley by doing that? Oh, hey, Riley, nice job. You're doing exactly the right thing, or whatever that positive reinforcement looks like.
Yeah.
And if he's not doing it, then you just go back through the steps. You go back to observe, and you do that. And after a certain amount of times, like we're kind of talking about in this example, that's when you can maybe sit down, Riley, and just be like, hey, like, we've coached to this a couple different times. We've followed through. I followed up. You're still doing it wrong. Like, do you just not, like, what is the hang up? And work together to figure out if that's a station that you can do, or if as a leader, I need to find the right seat on the bus for you.
Yeah. And I can tell you if I'm an undercurrent, right, and whether I know it or not, but if Riley is continuously coming to coach me day after day after day after, and it starts to click to me, that is when I feel that Riley is invested in me. And something within me is going to change because someone's in my corner. And sometimes that's just what we need, is just to know that someone's in my corner, whether I'm going to mess up 10 times or 1 time and then it clicks. But having that support can change the current.
Well, and now, yes, change the current. I love that. That's awesome. But now also, you're more comfortable coming to your coach, coming to Riley about. I love how we're using Riley in third person. We need to come up with some Steve. You're more comfortable now coming to me with questions about procedures or different things, or wanting to learn more about XYZ, like,
Right.
because I've shown you that I care and that I am invested in your knowledge. So, I mean, we could talk about this stuff for forever, you guys. You guys know this, especially our team who's listening. We can talk about this stuff forever. And so I just want to wrap up and just say thanks again for watching and listening wherever you listen to your podcast. We appreciate it. This is a podcast for us, by us. I'm so glad that Hailey got to join us again for another episode.
I'm starting to become a regular here, and I'm enjoying it very much.
Yes, it is. It is fun, and it's so fun because, honestly, listeners, a little peek behind the curtain. We literally picked this topic this morning, and it's so fun because we can talk about so many different things. And if it's a funny clip like this or different clips, like that's what's cool about leadership is you can apply it to anything in any piece of your life. So listen, learn, lead. We'll see you next time. Make sure you're not the undercurrent in your restaurant. See ya.
Bye. Thanks for joining us on Buns, Burgers, and Big Ideas. We hope today's episode inspired fresh ideas for your leadership journey. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and keep learning with us as we continue to explore leadership in the QSR world. Until next time, take care and lead well.